everyone, it's Daphne, and I'm back to complete the Prima Pretty Pale 8.5 by 8.5 mini album. As you know, we've completed all the interior pages, and so now I'm going to focus on adding a couple of features to the inside pages that actually get applied to the mats, and also adding some embellishments. I don't normally record my embellishment placement or even working with the embellishments, but I'm going to try to do it this time. I've had a couple of requests and hopefully it goes well. There's a little bit of fussing that goes on as placement, so you'll have to be a little bit patient with me. And then if it makes sense, I'll try to do some fast forward through some of the activities so that it doesn't get too long on you guys. Okay, with that, I'm going to set this book aside, and here's the outside, the spine and the back. And inside, I've already gone ahead and kind of grouped the things that I'm going to lay down on these various pages. And I'm going to pull each one up close so you guys can get a look at it. And I'll talk about the elements. This is a piece of chipboard here. This is one of the die cuts. This is a piece of chipboard, one of the flowers from the Prima collection. And in the description, I'll list all the Prima flower packs that I use. This is actually just fussy cut from one of these sheets. And then these, the last piece are the, sorry, I'm drawing a blank, the leaves that I added. And the leaves are part of a Prima pack of dies. And I'm pretty happy with it. They're kind of interesting. They're a little fussy to get out the negative spaces, but I think they look really pretty. And the flowers need something. So if you don't have dies, you'll probably want to add some floral pieces, non-flower pieces like the leaves. I think it adds a lot of pop. So I've used two dies sets. One of them is the Prima die set, and the other is the Graphic 45 large die tag. Comes with these leaves inside. And so I've actually leveraged these leaves throughout the book too, and I'll point them out as we come across. So again, I like to make these ahead of time, and I think I made 8 or 10 of these ahead of time. And then as I start to build the book out, I decide where I want to place these. And typically they're 3 to 4 inches, so they're a feature, but they're not going to cover the whole page. This one is going to go on the inside cover. And on the back, I've used chipboard to pop it because it's actually going to be a tuck spot. So it's going to get placed right over here. And then on this side, I've got another one that I've arranged. These are the Prima flowers. And again, you'll see the die cut leaves that I've added. This is a piece of chipboard. This is the backing that actually comes with the flower packs, which is kind of cool. And I think I've got, yeah, here's a flower pack here. So you can see there's a piece of vellum. So in some of them, I pulled the vellum out and I've used it in parts of the layout. I just think it makes it kind of interesting. There's not a lot of color in this collection, so it's really about layers. So this one I'm going to place here. And then on the inside, I've decided to add a card fold feature. And I'm just going to adhere it slightly off center. And I'm going to adhere only 3 or 4 sides so that there's actually a pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that right now. And then I'm going to come back and add those 2 floral elements, and then page 1 will be done. And then I'll come back and at some point in the very end, probably as part of the walkthrough, show you what I put into the pockets of these card fold features. I'll probably just mount some additional journaling cards and tags and tuck them in. Okay, again, you can do all 4 sides if you don't want to do a pocket. I want to do a pocket, so I'm only doing 3 or 4 sides. You can use tape or glue. I like glue because whatever you stick in the pocket doesn't get stuck on the tape. Sometimes the tape will peel back as you tuck something into the pocket. So I kind of like glue when it's a pocket. So I'm just looking for an even border on the bottom. It's going to close like this. So that's in. So it'll open. And then also when I come back at the very end, and you'll see this, I'll add some little pieces of embellishment to the inside of these. But I'm going to focus right now on these floral arrangements and getting them placed, and then these card fold journaling cards. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and do this one. This one I actually put pop dots on, and I go back and forth. I'm actually kind of a fan of cutting up the chipboard, any leftover chipboard pieces you have. And the reason I like that is because it makes it very rigid. The foam dots kind of move around a little bit. And if you use the chipboard, it makes it very rigid. And I like that feel better. But it's really a preference. Okay, I've got a couple more stickies to take off. I think at the time when I was putting this together, I didn't have any chipboard handy. So I want some, I want the layers to really pop out. And part of how I achieve that is various thicknesses of paper, and then also by using my pop dots to pull it up off the page a little bit. Now I'm just making sure the edge of this doesn't stick out past the page so it doesn't get, I don't jeopardize having it torn off, getting stuck on something. Actually, now that I say that, I think I kind of like the butterfly hanging off a little bit toward the inside, so that's what I'm going to do. So as you can see, the wing of the butterfly is hanging into, actually that's not straight. It's kind of tough because the element's not square anyway, but okay, there we go. All right, so that's placed. You open it up and then you have this feature, and then I'm going to come back and add some embellishments, and then also find something to stick into the pockets here. Okay, this will tie to stay closed, and it'll hold both elements closed. Excuse me. Beautiful day here in San Diego. Very, very warm. Okay, I'm going to apply this one here. I'm just going to add glue to the chipboard pieces because I want to leave it open so that I can either slip a photo or a piece of memorabilia behind it when I'm mounting something here. So one of the tricks you want to keep in mind when you're using dimensional elements in your book, and I'm not doing it on this page, but this is relatively flat. But if you have volume, you want to offset it. So if you want something to have height, you want you don't want them to be directly across from each other because it might make the page a little too wide. But as you can see, this works out fine. I think I'm going to add a little bit to this chipboard so it goes down. There we go. And that is done. Okay, I'm going to hold that for a second, and then we're going to go on to page 2 and 3. And it's very similar. The layout and the flaps of the album are pretty straightforward. So this one's pockets. So I've paperbacked and did a card on one of these, and one of them's a flat back. And these will just go directly in here. And then here's another floral arrangement that I've made. And underneath on the very bottom, this is fussy cut from the same paper as on the cover. And then I've layered these leaves, and I put 3 floral elements, and that's going to go right here in the corner. It just so happened that I fussy cut this right off the edge of the paper, so I'm going to go ahead and adhere it this way so that it masks that flower is cut at the bottom. And again, I put chipboard on the back so that we can get that dimension that I talked about. And we're just going to mount it right here. Hold that for a second. And I kind of curled the leaves up a little bit just because I want them to pop out and really show some of the dimension. So that is going to be the end of page 2 and 3. I'll probably come back and put a sticker or something over here, but right now I want to focus on getting my florals down. Okay. The next page is another half page, and I've got I put a card. In this one, I want it to open down, and on the flip side, it's going to open up. But that's really just preference. So I'm going to glue only 3 of the 4 sides down to do the same thing so that it has a pocket in it for just some extra storage, which you don't have to use, but it's nice to know it's there. If you have more, then you can actually get into the book. I'm using glue again, and I like this because anything that you stick in the pocket won't get caught up. I'm just centering this, and I want it on the high side because there's going to be one on the opposite side a little bit lower. Okay, there we go. I like that, and it closes. This is the one floral element that I actually applied directly to the mat and not and didn't have it on a free piece floating around. I don't know why I did it that way, but it just so happened that way. I am going to point out, and I'll bring it up a little closer so you can see it. what I've used. Here are the graphic 45 leaves that I talked about in that die. These are all Prima Flowers. And then this is two, or what are called tickets that are one of the ephemera pieces that you can get with the collection. This is a rhinestone that I pulled off the front of one of the flowers that I layered. So instead of burying it where you can't see it, I just added it to the side. And this is a chipboard butterfly. And then on the very back, you'll see that there is a clock, and that is part of the graphic 45 die tags as well. It is the square die tag. The square die tag has a clock in the middle. The large one has the florals and a small die. So I used a couple of those in this just to get those layers that I was talking about. Up here, I featured 3 of the tapes that come as part of the collection, which I really like. So they're here, and I've also featured them on this page as well. I like the way they look. Okay, so I've got my ephemera card in. It folds down. I've made a pocket up here, so I'll put something in that in my final walkthrough. Now we're going to go on to the next page. And I'll show you the floral I arranged here. So these are the Prima dies. There's the graphic die. And then I used 3 of the Prima Flowers. And then this is a fussy cut piece again from the main page of the 12 by 12. And then here's a piece of that tape, the washi tape. Sorry, I dropped my glue cap, which I really like. I think it adds some extra dimension. And then I popped one of the rhinestones up here. And then to add even additional dimension, I'm using chipboard on the back to lift it slightly off here. This one I'm going to keep in mind that I want my floral to be above this so that they don't get tangled on each other when I open and close the book. So I'm just moving it up a little bit. And hold that in place for a second. Wait for the glue to grab. Okay, I think that's in. It looks pretty good. And again, there's my tape. And then I've got another card fold. Now this one's going to open up, this one open down. I'm going to glue it toward the bottom of the paper, and the pocket will be up here. And again, you can just mount these directly and have them be matte, so they don't have to have an interactive function, but I like to add that. Okay. And again, there'll be a pocket here, and I'll add a feature to that, or a piece of ephemera to that as I complete the album. Okay, so I like the way that looks. Okay, here we are on the next page. So this is also a Prima die, and I don't have the die handy with me, but it is a large die, and it cuts out a floral pattern, but it was too much. So what I did was kind of diagonally cut it along with the lines of the flowers. I added this piece of chipboard, 3 Prima Flowers. You can see the glittery one here. Here's a piece of die cut, and then there's another one of those tickets. I just like the way that looked. When I tried to lay this directly on here, it just kind of got lost in the pattern, and that's why I added this little piece of white. So I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. It's going to go right here on the edge. And that's going to be very simple. The chipboard's actually going to hang off. It's kind of a little lever. So I'm only applying the glue to this white piece here. And it should be enough to hold everything in place. Just adding a couple of dots here and there. And I think I can add a little here. Okay. There we go. And that's that. So I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. So I had a little glue there. Get that off. There. And that is page 6. Page 7 is a simple pocket, and I'll probably go back on the previous pocket page here and do something similar. I made a little floral. It's fussy cut from the foil page, a Prima flower, a couple of the leaves, another Prima flower, and of course I added my chipboard, and I'm going to put that right here. And I'll probably do the same thing on the other pocket. I just didn't have a floral made. before I started today, and I didn't even realize it until I opened the book. So there we go. I like the way that looks. I'm going to pop my leaves up because I think that makes it interesting. As you can see, these flowers are a little bit lower than the opposite page, so they won't tangle with each other when I open and close. This is just simply a fussy cut flower with a leaf behind it, and it's glued to the pocket so I can slip things behind it. So I think with this and this across from each other, I think that looks very lovely. These are simple cards. So these are the Ephemera journaling cards, and each one of these opens up for additional journaling or photos. So lots of space here. And here we are on the last page. And here's my last, well, not second to the last floral. This is probably the first one I made, which I like the most. I really like these roses, which is also Prima. So you'll see that I've got flowers tucked in. There's a piece of die cut. Here's one of the butterflies. That's a die cut heart. More of the flowers. These are the graphic leaves. And with the little flowers, I think the graphic leaves look really well because they're small in scale. Some of the Prima flower or Prima dies, obviously that's way too large for these flowers. So you kind of have to hunt and peck. Here's a piece of that vellum paper that comes with the flowers. I just tore it. And here's another ticket. You can see there's one of my glitter flowers. I'm real happy with the way that looks. This was a piece of the ephemera and it was a little too large, so I just tore it down the side and it's going to get applied right here. And I'm actually going to lift it a little because on the flip side is my last floral arrangement in the book. And this is a piece of the die cut. Here is some of the leaves that come from Prima. Here's the graphic leaf, 3 layered Prima flowers. And I think that looks nice over here. So I think I might center this piece and then I'll make sure that I raise this high enough so there's no interference. So I'll place this piece first. And even on the bottom, it still gives plenty of room for a photo on top. I'm just trying to make sure the word is straight. It's not a square die cut anyway, so you've got some ability to maneuver a little bit. Okay. And then this is the last piece. I'm going to place it over here. So I want to make sure that I have clearance from this flower. So it's going to go up a little bit high right here. Get some glue on my chipboard. Again, almost everything is popped to give it that added extra dimension on the page. Okay, there it goes. I'm going to hold that down a second. And then the last thing is I need to go ahead and adhere this piece. And this is a simple card. And it has a piece of what they call the journaling cards. Again, I'm going to only do 3 of the 4 sides. So that there's a pocket. And there's some additional journaling cards that are smaller. And I'll probably wind up tucking some of those into these pockets. There we go. All right. So that closes and we tie this off to keep that closed. And that is the end of the inside. Okay. So now for the outside. So I picked this paper for the outside. And then once I did, I realized it's going to be very hard to layer anything because everything disappears. So I did create this floral spray for it. So this is a large die cut in the very back, and I've got the Prima leaves tucked on the back side. You can see how I've adhered them. And then I've got the flowers. Some are half under and half exposed. This one's tucked under that flower, but all the flowers on this side are actually applied to the die cut. This is a chipboard piece that I've added to add some additional layers. So my plan was to lay this down, and I saw that and I thought, well, it looks a little naked. So then I started fooling around with some layers. So this is what I think I've come up with. So this is just simply a piece of cardstock torn. There's a piece of what comes with the flowers again. And I tore the edges, and then I created these 3 banners out of scrap paper, which I plan to layer as so. something like this. And so I'm going to do some fussing because this is how I come up with my covers. And I was thinking of adding this. I've got a joy that I can add to the top. I've got a couple extra flowers I'm thinking about cascading down this way. I think this will go like that, yeah. And then I've got a couple of leaves that I can throw in. I liked this cute ticket, so I think I'm going to tuck that in there. And I've got a couple other pieces of ephemera that I can consider. So I think I'm liking the way this is coming together, like so. So I think I'm going to start adhering things, and as you can see, it's kind of a collage. Nothing's meant to be square. It's meant to be soft and flowing and more organic in nature. I'm going to go ahead and start by laying down my white piece first, and then I'm going to start layering in these other pieces, and I'm going to start adding some chipboard to make them pop. So this I'm going to adhere directly to the white piece, and I'm only going to glue the center because I really don't want it to be flat. I want my paper to be able to roll and have some interest on the edges. So I may even want some tears and some folds, but I do want the center to be pretty firm. Now the next piece I'm going to lay, I'm probably going to pop with some chipboard, which I may or may not have handy. I may have to go get some of that. So I'm definitely going to add chipboard to the backs of these so that they're not flat on each other, so that you can see some of the dimension when I layer them. I'm going to go get some chipboard and be right back. Okay, I've added some chipboard to the back of a couple of these. So I'm going to layer these two, and then I'm going to add this one to the back. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down real quick. And this is trial and error. Sometimes I put something together and I completely don't like it, so I start over. So you got to be patient with the process when you're layering. Sometimes it looks good in your mind and you put it together and you're like, that's not what I was going for. So I think I'm going to add this piece back here. I like that. So I'm just looking to have some offset on these points. Okay. Now this is still free floating, so I'm going to set my book aside and actually just work off this piece. And this gets back to kind of how I do some of my floral sprays, is I'll start with a base and just add everything to it, and then I can just apply the whole thing to the book when I'm ready. Or if I decide at some point I'm not crazy about it, I can just toss the whole thing and start over. Okay, so I know that ultimately this piece is going to get layered on top. So now I want to decide, how much of this do I want exposed and on which side? I kind of like that, but then this is the other option, and I think I prefer this. So I'm going to adhere this to this page, but I'm going to add some dimension. So I'm going to go ahead and add some chipboard pieces here. And this is just strips of chipboard left over from making my spine and my covers. I don't purchase it for this purpose. I just cut up old pieces that I have. And it doesn't have to look pretty because no one's going to see it. But you do have to wait for the glue to dry. All right. So that's going to add a little bit of dimension there, which is what I'm looking for. I like it. I think I need to add one more layer here. Okay. Yes, that's coming along nicely. Okay, I like the way that's holding itself up. Now, because I've got this side raised, I'm going to have to add something to the back side of this. So I'm going to add an additional layer only on this side of chipboard. Oops, oh, that wasn't glued down yet. Okay. So I'm using art glitter glue on everything, but I have to tell you the chipboard I'm sorry, the die cut pieces are a little bit glossy in the collection. So you got to be patient. Your glue doesn't dry right away on those pieces because it's quite slick. It will adhere and it will stick, but it doesn't grab as quick as matte paper. So just be patient. Okay, so now I'm getting that extra lift on this side like we talked about. And this will dry quickly because chipboard's very absorbent. Okay, I'm liking the way that looks. And I had a flower here and I popped it off on accident, so I'm going to go ahead and glue that back down. There we go. Okay, I'm liking the way that looks. I think I'm going to go ahead and glue this side down. Trying to see how far the glue needs to go. Okay, I like it. And this is a little bit shiny too, so you have to wait for it to dry a little bit. So I'm going to press that into place. And then the edges of these papers are just slightly torn. I'm going to even that out a little bit. And I'm going to curl my edges. I'm just using my fingers. If you have distressing tools, you can use those. I don't, so I just use my hands. Okay, I want these tips to point up a little, so I'm rolling them with my fingers. Okay. And then we decided we want to offset it so that we have more of the words showing on this side. So that's what it's going to look like. There's where we're at so far. So I think I'm to the point where I'm ready to try to figure out where on the book this is all going to fit. So I'm going to pick up these pieces and start trying to decide, you know, where on the cover do I want this? Do I want it over to the side? Do I want it down to the corner? Up in a corner? And I actually think I like it slightly toward the spine. I like it a lot. Okay, so with that, I can go ahead and start gluing this down. I'm going to leave the space about a ½ inch around the outside so that I can curl the edges, but be generous with the glue on the middle. I'm going to lay this down again real quick. Yeah, before I press it into place. It doesn't have to be straight. It's not intended to be. You want it to look a little loose. Okay, this is going to go here. And I think that's it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add glue to all our chipboard. And then we're going to come back and add even more elements. But some of them are going to adhere directly to the book and not to this cluster. Okay, that's in for the most part. There we go. We're going to do some curling. There we go. I want my leaves to pop, so I'm rolling those forward. Okay, so I think I still want to add a couple more things. One of them is this heart. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the tip here, and I'm going to adhere it directly to the die cut, slightly tucked in between. There we go. And then I like this ticket, but I'm not sure where to put it, or if I want it at all, so I have to play around with it a little bit, and kind of like that. I like this color. So I've got that on both ends and a little bit here. So I'm trying to pull a little bit more in. So that's one of the reasons I like this ticket, is it's got that color in it. Okay, I like that. So I'm going to add a little glue to the bottom and tuck it in. And when I'm tucking like this, I actually put glue on both sides because I'm never really sure where it's going to grab. And I'm just rolling the corners up a little. Okay. Now I've got a couple of pieces, a couple of leaves that I think I want to use. I'm thinking about putting one here and also adding an additional flower here. And then maybe not this one, maybe the gray one. Yeah, I like the gray a little better. And then this one. So I'm just going to fuss around with this a little bit until I see what I like. Until it comes together for me. I like that. That definitely needs to go there. That definitely needs to go there. So just a little blob of glue. And then I'm going to tuck this slightly under that leaf. Press it in place for a second. There, I like that. So it's just a nice swirl. And then it looks like we need something over here. So let me decide what that is. Is it a rose? No, it's not a rose. So I still have a tray full of flowers. So I'm going to poke around and try to find one that I like right there. And it could be that I just am not happy with that leaf. It might be too big. And I also have these butterflies, which are part of the Prima collection too, and I definitely want to use a butterfly on the cover. In fact, maybe that's what's missing. Yeah, that's it. So I'm going to glue this leaf down, and the leaf will actually wind up helping support the butterfly. So put the leaf in place first. And all the die cut leaves are done using the 65-pound Nina cardstock, which is what the book is made out of. So it just matches all the rest of the white in here. So if you were doing the same thing, you might want to pick whatever that color is, whatever you're using for your core cardstock. Okay. I like it. Okay, that is coming together nicely. Okay, I like that little guy. This is probably one of my favorite flowers. It comes in a couple of different sizes, but they're really easy to use, and because they're flat, you can put them anywhere. You don't have to worry about collisions or getting too bulky. I also really like these glitter ones, and not so much by themselves, but I think they make great layering elements. So when it's tucked slightly underneath, you get that little bit of glitter. And I like that. And I think I want to put that there. Let's see if I've got, they came in this sort of champagne color and gold. So I'm looking to see which one I like better. And I think, and then there's also this really pale. Color, and I think I like this one. I'm going to use my tweezers to get it where I want it and press it down. Okay, all right, I'm liking that. Let's see, do I need, sometimes I don't even know if I need anything. I just tuck it in, look, and tuck it in and look. And go back and forth a lot. I'm gonna have to stand up and look. I think I need a little something here. So what could it be? Maybe, no, that's too busy. Maybe I need one of these. And part of the reason, yeah, I like that a lot. Part of the reason I want to add that is because the leaf is disappearing in the background. So by adding something behind it, I can better see the leaf. There we go. All right, and I have a couple of more butterflies, so I'm going to try to decide what to do with these. This is a flat one, so maybe I want to use one of my dimensional ones, which I really like. So maybe I need one more butterfly. I think that's too much color on this side. You know what? I'm going to take this guy off because I think I like this one better down here. Yes, this is the answer. All right. It's a good thing I only used a little glue on that. All right. I think this will look better because it needed a little more color on this side. And there it is. Okay. I like it. I like it. I think I'm done. I think that's my cover. So that's kind of what I do with my covers, and everyone's different. It depends on the paper collection that I'm working with. With Prima in particular, there were so many flowers to work with, which I love. That made it very easy. And with graphic, it's much more about fussy cutting. So every collection's slightly different. And this is one of those things that you can just keep poking and adding stuff, for days. You'll always find a way to add one more layer. But I think, looking at it right now, I think I'm pretty happy with it. I'll look at it for a day, and I may add some more stuff, but I am going to go back through the book one more time. And when I do, I'm going to add additional flowers and ephemera and some of this. I've got a whole basket full of die cuts left. So on those card folds, cards that I have, journaling cards inside, I'll probably be going back and placing little pieces of ephemera to tuck your photos slightly behind for interest. So I'm going to go do that, and then I won't show you laying those down because they'll be pretty straightforward, not as complicated as what we just did here on the cover. And they'll be part of the final walkthrough, which will hopefully happen a little bit later today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you like, please don't forget to hit the like button and share. If you'd pass us along to anybody you know that's interested in making mini albums, we would appreciate it. And thanks again for tuning in. And this is Daphne from Scrap and Create. And again, I'll be back with one final video. It'll be a brief walkthrough, and I'll make sure to point out all the features that I add between now and then, which will be minimal, but I will point those out. And then if you click the More button, you're going to see the list of products used in this mini album. If you want to recreate it, it'll give you a list of everything you need to do that. So thanks again for tuning in, and have a nice day.